fact that Monaco have won one league title in the last 10 years is you could say, is quite good going. They are, one of the big 4 or 5 clubs in French football. They're not intimidated by the prospects of playing Spurs or any Premier League team. It is a unique place to go and watch a game, that's for sure. A totally unique place. It's built above a car park. It's beside a marina. It's you don't get big crowds, but it's an experience like no other.
Because from our point of view, we always look at, especially as Spurs fans, you look at your teams you draw in Europe and you think you don't want to be getting a Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, Marseille with that sort of intimidating atmosphere. You look at Monaco and think you can easily go there and get a win. There's not exactly going to be much going on in the stands.
Hi guys.
Hi, how are you?
How you doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you for joining us. We can hear you, it's all perfect. Maybe you can lighten the mood, because we're not in a great mood this morning. We've got Monaco coming up. Before we get into the game itself, a bit of an enigma to me anyway. Historically, they've won the league, 10 or so years ago. You hear their name, a big name in France, haven't been able to try and break that PSG dynasty. What are they as a football club?
That's an interesting question. The first thing I would say is that it's practically impossible for anybody to break PSG's domination of French football. If you look at the gulf financially between them and the rest, the fact that Monaco have won one league title in the last 10 years is you could say, is quite good going. But I would agree that since they won it in 2017, I think they might have hoped to win something else in the intervening period. The thing about Monaco is that obviously they are a club that represents the Principality of Monaco. They are a bit of an anomaly in that sense, and of course they have they're renowned for having small crowds, not a huge support, but they have the backing of the Principality. They now have this very wealthy Russian owner, Dmitry Rybolovlev, who's been there for nearly 15 years. They have the financial wherewithal to compete at the top level, and actually within France, they are a big club. I mean, I know that people laugh when they see a Monaco home game with 5,000 or 6,000 people there, but when Monaco go away from home, they have fans all over France who follow them. They're 8-time French champions. They've gone deep into the Champions League plenty times in the past. They are, one of the big 4 or 5 clubs in French football. They're a glamorous name, and they can attract players to play for them, because who wouldn't want to go and live down on the Côte d'Azur by the Mediterranean? I think they're a club. They are a draw in a slightly unusual way, and to bring it to the current Monaco team, they are trying to find their place. I think they should be able to compete maybe at a higher level than they have been. But now we're seeing a team that Tottenham are about to play, who have just changed manager, who are struggling for consistency. And it looks like it might be a good time to play them.
Yeah, well, quite possibly. But just one more on Monaco as a club. Is it still very much young players? They've got, a Russian billionaire, there's loads of money. You'd think of Monaco as just a place where there's just money swilling around the streets. But is it actually, at the moment, still, we get young players, we move them on?
Yeah, that's been the model for quite a long time, really. I mean, obviously they understand, I think, their place in the wider hierarchy of football. So, they can't compete at the same level, really, as PSG, as the biggest Premier League teams, as several other clubs around the continent. But they can look to bring through young talents with great potential from, lower ranking clubs around Europe, around the world, and sell them on at a profit. That was a strategy that worked superbly for them with the team that won the league in 2016-17. I mean, I was thinking to myself before that, of course, I was in Monaco for a Monaco Spurs game in, I think, November 2016. In that season, they got to the semi-finals. Monaco and Spurs played each other in the group stage, and I think it was a draw. You guys will remember better than me. I think it was a draw. I can't remember
Monaco
very well. It's 9 years ago
beat us at Wembley.
But that Monaco team, of course.
We lost twice.
Did Monaco win?
Both games were 2-1.
Yeah, Monaco won.
All right, okay. Games. There you go. Thanks for that. Thanks for the reminder. It's a long time ago, like I say. But that Monaco team, obviously, with Mbappé, with Bernardo Silva, with Benjamin Mendy, Thomas Lemar, all these players they sold on. That was the model for them and for other clubs at that time to make huge money. Fabinho, they still want to do that, but in a way, that team was a bit of a one-off, and trying to get back to something like that is very difficult for any club, really. But that remains the model. Yeah, bring through young players, sell them on at a profit, and go again.
A team that peaked in 16-17. That rings a bell. Monaco.
Yeah.
Monaco have got a really strong record against English teams. We've seen them beat Villa last year, and they obviously got a draw against City. They knocked out Arsenal. They obviously beat Spurs both times. However long ago it was, 16-17 we just mentioned. How will Monaco see this game? Obviously Tottenham are not on Arsenal, Man United or Liverpool or Chelsea, but how will they sort of see this as a possibility of winning the game?
I think that's a good point. I mean, no, I think it's a glamorous game for Monaco. I mean, anytime a Premier League team comes to play a French club, it's always seen as a glamorous occasion. But I think you're right; they're not going to be intimidated by the prospect of playing Spurs, or as you saw with Manchester City, they got a draw in that game. They will. I think they would see it as an opportunity to get a result. But of course, again, the context is that this is a club that has just changed coach.
Yeah.
That has lots of injury problems and is coming off the back of a summer where they sold players and maybe didn't recruit very well. So I think they would like to think that they can compete in the Champions League this season, but maybe they understand that they might not quite be there now to do what they need to do. But I think they look at this as a game that they can take something from. Absolutely, I think it's a game in which if they can get a draw, they would be relatively satisfied. But I think they look at this as a game they could potentially win. It's they're not intimidated by the prospect of playing Spurs or any Premier League team.
And in terms of the crowds, for us over here, a team that, got to the Champions League final, are regularly sort of in the top 6 in the league, 8 times champions, regularly going deep in Europe. For us here to see a team getting 5,000 at home, which is less than teams get in the 5th tier of English football, that seems extremely bizarre to us. Why exactly is that?
Well, because Monaco is a very small place. There's only about 25,000-30,000 people live in Monaco. Many of them are rich athletes or people from around the world who are not native Monegasques. It's not a place where, and also it's only just along the road from Nice, who have their own club, who have a relatively big support themselves. The surrounding area is not an area that's likely to draw a big crowd to football games. But they do have fans all around the country, which means when they play away from home, they actually take quite a big travelling support. You'll probably see that when, I don't know if Monaco are playing a game in England at any point this season. They've obviously just played City at home, but if they do ever come to England, they'll take a big support with them. And I think that is an anomaly, but they do have a big support. It's just that you don't see many people at the Stade Louis II, which is an incredible. If anybody who's listened to this is going to the game who's not been there before,
Jake's going.
It is a unique place to go and watch a game. That's for sure. A totally unique place. It's built above a car park. It's beside a marina. It's you don't get big crowds, but it's an experience like no other.
Because from our point of view, we always look at, especially as Spurs fans, you look at your teams you draw in Europe and you think you don't want to be getting a Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, Marseille with that sort of intimidating atmosphere. You look at Monaco and think you can easily go there and get a win. There's not exactly going to be much going on in the stands.
I hope so. Was there surprise?
Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah.
Was there surprise Was there surprise at the sacking of Adi Huta, and they brought in Pocagnoli, who's only had one season as a manager at Union Saint-Gilloise? Was there surprise? I've looked at their results. I think they won the game before they sacked him. Was there a surprise?
It had been coming for a while. There was a little bit of. Actually, there's been a couple of occasions in the last sort of 18 months when it looked like they might pull the trigger and fire him. He ended up signing a new contract midway through last season, and then a few weeks later, he seemed to be in a very sugary peg. There were some suggestions they were going to sack him then. They lost to Benfica in the knockout stage playoffs in the Champions League. There was some disappointment around that, and then they kept him. They come into you see this a lot, right, at clubs where they think about sacking the manager, then they stay with him, and then a month into the new season, a couple of bad results, and he's gone. And I was in Monaco they played Metz in a league game. About a month ago now. They actually won it 5-2. Ansu Fati scored twice after coming off the bench, but they were dreadful. They were really bad, really disorganized defensively, really sluggish, and they were actually lucky to win the game, which sounds ridiculous because they won 5-2. But their performances have not been very good, and this has been coming. Basically, it's not a surprise that Adi Huta was fired. It was always seemed to be a question of when, not if. But the appointment of a new coach to come to that is a very interesting one, because this is a guy who's only had one season working as a manager in senior football. Now, he won the league at Union Saint-Gilloise, but they are a club with the investment and the knowledge and all the rest of it of Tony Bloom, who you guys know, the job he's done with Brighton, running that club. He basically is coming from a context where everything seemed to be set up to succeed in Belgium, which is not to take anything away from what he's done. But this is an interesting step for him to see how he can succeed, if he can succeed at Monaco. And he's a new coach, so it's a little bit of unknown for Monaco, and of course for Spurs preparing to play against him. So that'll make it very interesting to see how it goes.
Andy, I just wanted to ask you. We were linked quite heavily with Akliuch in the summer for that number kind of 10 role. Is he the danger man? Is he someone that we should be looking out for?
Oh yeah. A really superb player coming in off the wing. Just broke it into the France team at the beginning of this season. Wonderful talent. I mean, yeah, obviously you're saying Spurs were interested in him, linked with him. Other Premier League teams as well. Paris Saint-Germain were linked with him. Inter Milan. I think this is a guy who's on the radar of all the top European clubs. Wonderful, wonderful talent. In a way, it's surprising that he stayed at Monaco in the end, but I think they did the right thing keeping him because they sold one or two other very good players. They have danger all around the front line, actually. If you look at their attack, they've got Minamino, who didn't do well at Liverpool, but is a very good player, Japan captain sometimes. They've got Ansu Fati, who's looking good since he's come in. But Akliush is he's the star man in this team and really a really emerging talent who I suspect we might well see certainly in the France squad at the World Cup next year.
And do you think he would
Hasn't
cut
had
it
a
in the
brilliant
Premier
start to
League,
the season for his club, but a wonderful player.
Do you think he'd cut it in the Premier League? Do you think he's strong enough, or he's got kind of the ability to kind of make it in a bit more physical environment?
Yeah, I mean, I understand the question. I mean, I think my answer to that is always look how many guys playing in the Premier League have come from France. The French league is so physical, and I just think that so many of the league. It's people criticise the quality of the league, but actually the standard of player in France is incredibly high. And I think that a player of his ability, of his technical ability, who glides, can glide through defenses, cutting from the flank. Because he scored a stunning overhead kick in a game against Rennes last season, which very few players would be capable of scoring. With the technical ability, he might look slight physically, but with the technical ability that he has, he could cut it in any league, in any environment in the world for sure.
And I just want to ask you one more. Like, obviously, Eric Dyer now plying his trade down there. Spent many years at Spurs as well. It's kind of divided opinion towards the end of his time at Spurs. Just wondered what's kind of the thought of him in Monaco.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's been quite positive so far. I believe he's out of the game, right? I think he picked up an injury in training and is going to be out for a few weeks, which is a shame. But he's settled in pretty well. I mean, the thing is that he, as you know about Eric Dyer, he's I suppose in a way he's quite an unusual figure because he had that upbringing in Portugal. He's maybe got more of a European outlook than some other players who you might think of an England team. That's why he went to play in Germany and now at Monaco. But he's come into a defence which has been very leaky. I touched on it before. They lost 4 goals in Bruges. They were torn apart in that game. So perhaps his influence on the field has not been what you might have hoped for, but he has settled in, I think, to the surroundings very quickly. Of course, he scored the penalty to get a draw against Manchester City. Yeah. He's a player of great caliber, great experience, and I think they were looking to add that kind of experience to the squad, which could be very valuable for what is, largely speaking, still a very young team. So I think that the early signs are promising, but a shame that he's out now for a few weeks, yeah.
And just looking ahead to Wednesday, I'm just looking at Monaco's home form. Certainly this season, unbeaten. Scored, I think, 15, but they've conceded at least 2 in 4 of the 5 games. Spurs, I don't know how much you've seen of Spurs, but patchy, better away than we are at home. I've got a bit of a fear for this game. When you start talking about those players, Akliush, Minamino, Fati, no, but good technical players. I don't know, they were good against City. They looked powerful, Monaco. How do you see the game going?
Yeah, I mean, City did dominate that game. If you look at the brief highlight, I mean, City hit the crossbar twice. Monaco got a late equal. I mean, it could have been a big win for City, but it ended up being a draw. I just think you're right. I mean, they have got great players in attack. They do have problems in defence. The other thing is they've got big problems in midfield. I mean, their best midfielders, Denis Zakaria, who's the captain, who had a brief spell at Chelsea, didn't work out from there, but a very good player. He's been injured. And is injured for a while. Lamine Camara, who's one of the most exciting young players in African football, midfielder from Senegal, he's been out. Paul Pogba, who they signed in the summer, obviously hadn't played for a long time. Yeah. He's not been fit to play. So they actually have hardly anybody in the midfield. So, people always say the midfield is where games of football are won. I think this really might be the case this time. Spurs, listen, you guys have so many attacking options. Whether it's coming together or not is a different question. Yeah. But you look at the attacking options you have, you look at Monaco's weaknesses in defence. I mean, I think your point you made about Monaco doing well against English teams is a good one. I think that they will not be intimidated by playing this fixture, but I think if you're Spurs, you have to be looking at it as a possibility to go there, get a couple of goals, pinpoint this defense, and actually should be a really. I mean, I wouldn't like to sort of predict what's going to happen, but it should be a really enjoyable game. Given what I'm just saying about this Monaco team, how unpredictable they are, how exciting they can be, the chance for Spurs maybe to pick them off, should be a really interesting game.
Well, they've not lost at home since February against Benfica, who beat them twice last season. I've noticed at home. Prediction: are Spurs going to come home with 0-1-3? What's going to happen?
Well, I just said I don't like to give predictions, but no, I mean, let's say a draw. Shall we say a draw? I mean, I think, Monaco's home record is notable.
Take a draw.
Let's say a draw. A draw, and everybody can go home happy, and hopefully the Spurs fans can get some nice weather down by the Mediterranean and enjoy the trip, because it is a stunning part of the world, and that's something to bear in mind as well.
Well, Jake's going. Hopefully he comes back with 3 points. Andy, thank you so much for joining us. We'll speak to you before we play PSG in the Champions League final in May. We'll do that then.
Pleasure.
Thanks,
Excellent. Thanks,
Cheers.
guys. All
Thank
the
you.
best. Enjoy the game.
Thank you.
See you later.
Cheers. Bye.